Hey there. I know you love all things Italy, especially those larger-than-life figures who've captivated the world.
Right.
And when it comes to icons, who's more globally recognized than Enzo Ferrari? The name practically screams speed luxury, the roar of a Formula One engine.
Yeah, you can't really say Ferrari without picturing, like, the color red.
It's true.
And speed, of course.
But today, we're hitting the brakes on the racing legend and taking a deep dive into the man himself, Enzo Ferrari.
What's fascinating is how Enzo's story is so intertwined with the brand. It's like trying to separate the driver from the car, almost impossible.
Right. So we're going to peel back the layers using his Wikipedia page and some insights from a great Motor Rally article.
Cool.
And for someone like you who love those classic YouTube clips of Italian history, this is going to be a ride.
I think you'll be surprised by how much Enzo's personal journey shaped not just Ferrari, but the entire landscape of motorsport.
Okay, so let's start with his early life.
Okay.
Enzo was born in Modena, Italy back in 1898, although his birth certificate actually says February 20th, when the real date was the 18th.
Oh, really?
A snowstorm delayed the registration.
It's a little detail, but it makes you think, right? About a time when life wasn't so instantly documented.
Totally. Now picture this. You're a 10-year-old Enzo in 1908. And instead of watching a race replay on YouTube, you're actually there in Bologna with your dad.
Oh, wow.
The Circuito di Bologna, a massive spectacle, and you witness Felice Nazzaro, a racing hero, take the win.
It's almost cinematic, isn't it? This pivotal moment where Enzo's passion for racing ignites.
Totally. But as we know, life rarely stays in that cinematic high.
Right.
World War I hit, and tragedy struck Enzo's family.
Yeah.
His father and older brother both died from illness in 1916.
Wow.
This forced Enzo at just 18 to become the head of the household.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting because you can see how this early loss, this sudden burden of responsibility, might have forged that steely determination he became known for. He even served in the Italian army, but was discharged due to his own illness. So right away, we see resilience built into his character.
That's right.
But here's a twist. After the war, Enzo applied to Fiat
Okay.
and got rejected.
It's surprising, right? You'd think the man who'd build one of the most iconic car brands would be welcomed with open arms by another industry giant.
Totally.
But maybe that rejection fueled his fire. It's almost like that lit a fuse in him.
It definitely didn't stop him. Enzo eventually landed a job as a test driver and made his racing debut in 1919.
Okay.
He even joined Alfa Romeo's racing department.
Wow.
But more tragedy followed him.
Oh, no.
Ugo Savocci and Antonio Ascari, two drivers he was close to, died in racing accidents.
It's a reminder of how dangerous motorsports were back then.
Yeah.
And it clearly had a profound impact on Enzo. It's almost like he wrestled with the thrill of victory being constantly shadowed by the cost of human life.
Yeah, and that leads us to 1929,
Okay.
when he formed Scuderia Ferrari, a racing team initially backed by Alfa Romeo.
Cool.
Interestingly, they raced both cars and motorcycles.
That might seem odd today, but back then, motorcycle racing was huge in Italy.
Oh, really?
It was seen as a stepping stone to car racing, and many drivers, including Enzo, competed in both.
Ah.
Plus, it was a way to build brand recognition and attract sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
Motorcycle racing back then, very popular.
It's like the early days of motorsports with this melting pot of speed and innovation.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't talk about Scuderia Ferrari without mentioning the iconic prancing horse emblem,
Absolutely not.
which...
The prancing horse wasn't just marketing genius, it has a deeply personal connection to Enzo.
Oh, there.
The symbol was actually a gift from the Countess Paolina Baracca,
Wow.
the mother of a World War I fighter pilot named Francesco Baracca.
Okay.
He had painted it on his plane and was a national hero with 34 aerial victories.
34 victories. That's incredible. What made him such a successful pilot?
He was known for his skill and daring, but tragically he was killed in action.
Oh.
His mother believed the prancing horse brought her son luck and gifted it to Enzo, thinking it would do the same for him. Wow.
And in a way, it did.
Talk about a symbol imbued with history and emotion.
Absolutely.
From personal loss to becoming an emblem of victory. That's powerful stuff.
Powerful stuff.
Now, Enzo's relationship with Alfa Romeo wasn't always smooth sailing, was it?
Not at all. Enzo had a strong will of vision, and he wasn't afraid to clash with Alfa Romeo's management.
Yeah.
He wanted control, and that eventually led to the Great Walkout in 1939, a dramatic split that would change the course of motorsports history.
Wow, and you know, this need for control seems like a recurring theme with Enzo.
Right.
From dealing with personal tragedy to his demanding leadership style, maybe that's what fueled him to create something entirely his own.
Absolutely. And that drive led him to form his own company, Auto Avio Costruzioni, right before World War II broke out. Initially, they supplied aircraft parts for the war effort, but Enzo had a bigger dream.
He was playing the long game, waiting for his chance to finally build his own cars to go head-to-head with Alfa Romeo and prove them wrong. Exactly. He even had to navigate a 4-year contract clause that prohibited him from racing or designing cars after leaving Alfa Romeo. But he was patient, he was strategic, and in 1947, Ferrari S.p.A. was born.
So 1947, Ferrari S.p.A. hits the scene, a new era for Enzo and for the world of motorsports. Their first car, the 125S, rolls out that same year.
And this wasn't just any car. The 125S housed a powerful V12 engine, a design that would become synonymous with Ferrari's legacy. It was Enzo's statement, "This is what I can do."
It's almost like this underdog story, right? He's been through so much face rejection, lost wartime, and now he's back with a roar. But it wasn't just about the cars for Enzo, was it? He was building an empire, his own world.
That's where the Fiorano circuit comes in. Remember how Enzo had that experience with the Modena Autodrome not being up to his standards?
Right, it wasn't good enough for testing his car, so he built his own track.
Exactly, right next to the factory. It wasn't just practicality, it was about control. Enzo needed to oversee every detail to shape his vision precisely.
This guy was relentless. And that vision extended to his team, especially the drivers. But we've got to talk about Enzo's leadership style. It was as legendary as it was controversial.
Yeah, Enzo wasn't exactly known for warm fuzzies and team-building exercises. He famously pitted his drivers against each other, creating intense internal rivalry.
It's almost like he believed pressure-cooked diamonds, right? That constant competition would push his drivers to the absolute limit, both in skill and in pushing the boundaries of the cars themselves.
There's a quote from Tony Brooks, one of Ferrari's drivers at the time, that really captures this. He said driving for Enzo was like being asked to climb Everest in your underpants. You're stripped bare, vulnerable, but expected to achieve the impossible.
That's a wild image. It makes you think about the kind of personalities drawn to that environment, the sheer mental toughness required.
It's easy to romanticize that golden age of racing, but the reality was incredibly dangerous. And tragically, several Ferrari drivers lost their lives during Enzo's reign.
That's the dark side of the legend, isn't it? Alberto Ascari, Eugenio Castellotti, so many talented drivers met tragic ends. The Vatican newspaper even compared Enzo to Saturn devouring his sons.
It's a harsh comparison, but it reflects the weight of those losses, the questions surrounding Enzo's methods. But there's another perspective. Sterling Moss, a contemporary F1 driver, defended Ferrari. He pointed out that none of the driver deaths were attributed to mechanical failures.
So the cars themselves weren't inherently faulty, but the sport was, and still is, inherently risky. It's a complicated legacy. On one hand, this incredible drive for excellence pushing the boundaries of what's possible. On the other, the human cost.
And through it all, Enzo remained a very private man. He rarely gave interviews, preferred to stay in Modena, and after the 1950s didn't even travel to races outside of Italy.
It's almost paradoxical, isn't it? This man who built a global empire of speed but refused to set foot on a plane.
It suggests a man deeply rooted in his traditions, his home, maybe even a certain level of fear. But even with that guarded exterior, there were glimpses of vulnerability, of deep emotion.
Right. His personal life was far from simple. He married Laura Grollo in 1923, and they had a son Dino who tragically died from muscular dystrophy in 1956. He was only 24.
And Enzo poured his grief into a tribute, the Dino car named after his beloved son. It's a reminder that beneath that tough, controlling exterior was a father's heart.
It humanizes him, right? Makes you see the man behind the legend. And speaking of sons, there's another part of Enzo's story that only came to light later.
The existence of Piero Enzo's son with Lina Lardi. Due to Italy's strict divorce laws at the time, Piero's existence was kept secret for many years. It wasn't until after Laura passed away that he was officially recognized as Enzo's son.
And despite the societal pressures of that era, Enzo eventually acknowledged Piero, who now serves as vice chairman of the company. It speaks to a sense of loyalty, of trying to do right by his family, even if it came late in life.
So we have this image of Enzo, ambitious, controlling, driven by loss, but also capable of deep love and loyalty. It's a complex picture, just like the man himself.
And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore how this complex, contradictory man left an enduring legacy that continues to resonate today. So we've talked about Enzo Ferrari's ambition, his losses, his complexities. But when we talk about legacy, how do we even begin to sum up the impact of a man who essentially became synonymous with speed, luxury, Italian excellence.
It's interesting you say that because Ferrari really is more than just a brand name. It evokes an emotion and aspiration. You see a Ferrari on the street, hear that engine roar.
Right.
It's an experience, isn't it? It triggers something deep down.
For sure. It's not just seeing a car. It's like this visceral reaction.
Right.
And that feeling, that experience, it all goes back to Enzo's vision. He wasn't just building cars. He was crafting a legacy, a feeling.
Precisely. And that legacy is built on passion innovation, this relentless pursuit of perfection. But it's also intertwined with tragedy, with the constant reminder that pushing limits, whether in speed or in life, often comes with a price.
Something that really struck me in the Motor Valley article was Enzo's daily ritual, even in his later years of visiting his son Dino's tomb.
Decades after Dino's passing, that loss clearly remained with him. It shows that beneath the tough exterior, the drive for success was a deep well of human emotion. Enzo was a man who loved deeply and grieved deeply.
It's those details that make him more than just a myth, right? This man who seemed larger than life was also capable of such tenderness, such enduring grief.
Absolutely. And it was just a year before his own death in 1988 that the Ferrari F40 was launched, a car dedicated to Enzo's achievements. It was a fitting tribute to a man who dedicated his life to building a legend.
And that legend continues to thrive, doesn't it? Ferrari, both the company and the myth, remains a global force, a symbol of Italian excellence.
What's remarkable is that Enzo Ferrari, a man of few words, actually left behind a treasure trove of insightful quotes. For someone who loves diving deep into a subject, I encourage you to seek them out.
I love that idea. Digging into Enzo's own words to understand the man behind the myth. It's like a personal challenge for our listeners, a way to connect with Enzo on a deeper level.
One of my favorites is, if you can dream it, you can do it. Simple, yet powerful. It speaks to the core of Enzo's being this unwavering belief in the power of dreams and the possibility of achieving the seemingly impossible.
And that's what we hope you take away from this deep dive. If Enzo Ferrari, a man who faced so much adversity, could dream and build such an incredible legacy, what seemingly impossible dreams could you pursue? What passions are waiting to be ignited?
Enzo Ferrari's story is a testament to the power of human ambition, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring allure of chasing a dream no matter how audacious it may seem. And as Enzo himself said, the greatest victory is that which increases one's self-respect. So go out there, embrace your passions, and strive for greatness in whatever form that takes for you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life of Enzo Ferrari. It's been a journey. We hope you've learned something new, been inspired, and maybe even sparked a dream or two of your own.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next videos.